to this is a intriguing concept that is I find in Jay's work about the art of screwing up. And I think this really appeals to a lot of people because we
Uh,
all screw up at some point, and how the idea of royally screwing up can play a role in creativity and foresight and finding meaning in our lives and work. I know you
all,
talked about that before, Jay, right?
all my life, I've used the phrase falling up. And now my best friend, Terry Deacon, is writing a book entitled Falling Up. And I'm delighted with how he is. Whereas my work on emergence is phenomenological, it's how emergent systems look from the outside. Terry Deacon's work is emergence from the inside. He's worked out the dynamics of emergence, and it involves the the kind of leaning together of what he calls morphodynamic systems, systems that are self-organizing,
Hmm.
create form. So the transition from thermodynamics, just heating things up to make them hot and to make them boil, the transition from thermodynamics to morphodynamics is what a great deal of complexity theory is about, the work at the Santa Fe Institute. Um, but what Terry has added is the transition from morphodynamics to teleodynamics.
Hmm.
How can purpose come into the universe, come into a purposeless universe? And the key is that he's worked out dynamics of emergence from the inside. He's worked out how morphodynamic systems use the second law of thermodynamics, entropy, the tendency to fall apart, mutually opposed systems trying to fall apart keep each other up like a house of cards. Just as gravity, one card would fall, another card would fall, but if they lean against one another, the gravity pulling one card holds up the gravity, the other card. Now, imagine if there's an arrow labeled G for gravity. Now change the G to an E for entropy. That entropic systems, systems falling apart together, create coming together at a higher level. And this contrarian mode of thought that Terry Deacon has worked out really beautifully uh, reflects back onto the basic argument of living without a goal, that screwing up, coming apart often leads to falling up. And I've experienced this time and again in my own life. This book, Living Without a Goal, begins with a passage of me driving away at night from having been expelled from boarding school. Oh my God, my whole future looked as if it were destroyed. And yet, as I write about in the book, I felt a peculiar delight at, wow, now I'm living life in real time. It's not obvious what comes next. So that turned into I felt a higher level. I went back to public school where there were girls. That was an improvement. And then I got off to a very good college. But then again, there were several dropouts. There was the dropout from the math and physics into philosophy. And then there was finally leaving the academic world altogether to get dropping out of that. You could say failing. I didn't get tenure uh, because I didn't follow the kind of maxims that senior professors, some would give me on how in philosophy, the real coin of the realm for academic advancement is journal articles. But I read the journals and it all seemed quite trivial. I didn't want to be in
Using a
discourse.
euphemism. You're using a euphemism.
Yeah, I didn't want to be in discourse with the authors of journal articles. I wanted to be in discourse with Plato, with Aristotle, with Nietzsche, with Heidegger, with Derrida. That's the discourse that I wanted. So I didn't do it right in academia. I set off to I wrote 400-page commentary on Hegel's phenomenology that I never published. I wrote another exchange of articles about alienation, an exchange between two different people, much like Kierkegaard's Either Or, never published. Um, you know, I find it helpful to, from time to time, passionately go off into directions that lead nowhere.
Mm.
And then only later on is there sometimes a retrieval of something that I once did that I didn't really know why I did it, but it turned out to be valuable. I think part of screwing up is getting off the straight and narrow and then taking a risk, having to be creative to get it all back together again, sort of.
Great.
And then you screw up again.
Absolutely.
I, I had a 23-year first marriage that ended. I regard it as a success. We had two fine boys, and but after 23 years, we both agreed we were going in directions. So split from that world. Uh, got fired from SRA International for a kind of mutiny against a bad boss. Fired, out of here. That was interesting. That required the creation of Global Business Network,
Mm.
which was a much better life, um, both in terms of control over my own calendar and economically. In both ways, was a whole lot better than SRI. So GBN was just a thrill to five of us, five friends, founded GBN together, and there was a tremendous amount of mutual respect and no politics. How few jobs can you say there's no
Yeah.
politics?
I'm fascinated by the idea about falling upward. I guess in the moment, sometimes it's hard to see it actually going upwards. It looks like you're falling down, but
Yes. Yeah.